Welcome back to Who Is on Magic Untapped as we explore the origins and backstories of various characters from Magic the Gathering. I am Barry White. Over the past several months, we've been highlighting important figures from Magic the Gathering's The Brothers War storyline. Last month, we looked at the feuding brothers Urza and Mishra right up to the final days of their strife. Now we conclude our look at the brothers as we focus in on the final days of their plane and multiverse-altering conflict.
Who is this?
Who is it?
Who is this?
Who is it?
Now on Argoth, in search of more resources to plunder as both sides of the war between the forces of Urza and Mishra tried to tip the balance in their favor, a new foe enters the fray. Titania, a Morrow sorceress and the protector of the island paradise, took exception to the raping and pillaging of her land by the brothers' forces. After diplomacy failed to sway either side, Titania went on the offensive. Elves, treefolk, pixies, and even the land itself repeatedly attempted to kill or expel the two invading armies. But as more and more of Argoth's forest was plundered, the power of its goddess waned. Soon enough, with much of Argoth already stripped of its beauty and splendor, the brotherly conflict approached its climax. It's on this paradise-turned wasteland that Ashnod, Mishra's once trusted second-in-command, now banished due, in part, to influence by the Phyrexian praetor, Gix, and his followers, rendezvous with Tawnos, Urza's most trusted apprentice and close friend. Here, she handed him an ancient bowl-shaped item called the Golgothian Sylex, and instructed him to give it to Urza, saying that it has the power to end the war, conveying to him the information she coerced from the Third Path member, Lauren, years earlier during the siege of Tercia City. It's about this time that everything goes haywire, as the mechanical armies on both sides went berserk. Gix, a Phyrexian demon who had been playing both sides from deep in the shadows, approaches the pair. As he attempts to kill Tawnos, Ashnod intervenes and allows him to escape harm, but at the cost of her own life. Meanwhile, on another part of the war-torn island, Urza, Mishra, and their respective armies meet one another face to face. Suddenly, war machines on each side begin to attack one another as if it was every man and every machine for themselves. In the chaos, the brothers duel, their long-standing strife personal. Urza, now old and tired, looks nothing like his brother. Despite their difference in age being one day less than a year, Mishra looks to be many decades younger, a difference that Urza finds unsettling and confusing. Mishra, with his uncanny youth and strength, quickly gets the upper hand over his older brother and goes in for the final kill. But just as he is about to use his Ankh to slit Urza's throat, a flame bursts from Urza's Mightstone, striking Mishra point blank and tearing a hole in his abdomen. That's when Urza sees it. What should be flesh, bone, and blood was nothing but machine. Mishra is no longer the brother he grew up with and feuded with ever since that fateful day with Toskia a lifetime ago. Unbeknownst to Urza, Mishra had been betrayed by his own council, a council populated by the Brotherhood of Gix, and had been completed by Phyrexia to be Gix's personal pawn. Mishra takes a temporary retreat and returns to the safety of his own camp, as Urza can only stare. Dumbfounded and grief-stricken at what had happened to the person who was once his brother, the Lord High Artificer feels something change within him as he begins to become acutely aware of just how damaging the decades-long war against his brother has been, not just to the people caught in its wake, but to the land itself. That's when Tawnos catches up with him. Handing him the Sylex, he informs Urza about the demon who had nearly killed him, then tells about the Sylex's nature and how to activate it just as Ashnod had instructed him to. As Urza touched the ancient device, he felt not just the power of the artifact, but of the land as well. More than that, he felt the mana the land provides, the force of true magic. Knowing now what he must do, he quickly sends his son, Harbin, off-island, and tells Tawnos to do the same, with the Artificer's longtime apprentice taking shelter in an armored, coffin-like stasis chamber. Meanwhile, Mishra was preparing the next phase in his ultimate battle against his brother. He fuses his heavily damaged body with that of Makfawa, the original dragon engine he had tamed while in servitude to the Sawardi, becoming one with the Phyrexian beast. Now a full terror lost to Phyrexia, the Mishra abomination returns to the battlefield and charges up the hillside where his brother waits. There, Urza stands with the Golgothian Sylex in hand. He channels his very essence through the vessel. In an instant, a brilliant flash of light emanates from the very spot on which the Lord High Artificer stands, as a blast of nuclear proportion decimates everything in its radius, obliterating the island of Argoth and everything on it, Urza, Mishra, and their forces combined. Gix, who realized just in time that his grand plans were going off the rails, had already made a strategic retreat back to the portal to Phyrexia, deep within the caves of Koilos, ensuring his survival. Urza perished. Mishra destroyed. Countless lives lost, including that of Urza's son, Harbin, who was unable to escape the blast. In the aftermath, Dominaria lay in ruins, and yet a survivor exists. Urza awakens as a planeswalker. He gazes at the charred remains of what's left of the island of Argoth. Looking at the sea, he gasps at his reflection. He looks not as he is, but rather how he was, as his younger self. But perhaps most striking are his eyes, or rather, what now serves as his eyes, as the Mightstone and Meekstone now sat in their place. 5 years later, Urza opens Tanos' stasis-inducing coffin and awakens the Artificer from his slumber. He then asks him for a favor, to return to Kyla and to lie to her, informing her that her husband has perished in the war-ending Sylex blast, and for Tanos to look after her for him, assisting in the raising of their grandson, Yarsil. In agreement with his longtime friend, Tanos returns to the mainland and lives with Kyla, helping her to raise Yarsil, Harbin's son and Urza and Kyla's grandson. As for what happens next for Urza, well, there's quite a bit. If you're interested, I recommend you go over to our retrospectives playlist here on Magic Untapped and check out the videos we did on the Urza Saga block and the Invasion block. There's some good story there for you. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to support Magic Untapped, go ahead and subscribe to us here on YouTube and hop over to Patreon and toss a buck in our tip jar.